Hello everyone, and welcome to the latest video of the Living Process YouTube channel. Here we are back. I am fully intending to be a good weekly rhythm, and here, for the first time in a while with a fun video, is my colleague Dana Latt. Hello.
Hey, David.
Hi. So Dana's been doing quite a lot of traveling today. We have a lot of fun things to talk about here from the Arroyo Outdoor lot with the Living Process offices at 915 Meridian Avenue in South Pasadena. And to get things going, this is a 3D printed pot. We can print anything out of concrete. It's made in San Diego, and pretty much anything that you can put into an STL file. That's a 3D type file that you can generate with any 3D image editing maker. You can get printed out into something, whether it's panels, a pot, tiles, roofing. So the sky's the limit. And this really changes. This is the biggest change in production since really the industrial era at the end of the 19th and the early 20th century affected design. Dana, I know you have a lot of thoughts about that, especially regarding how that impacts detail in architecture and design.
Definitely. Yeah.
What are some of your thoughts on that?
The wonderful thing about this evolution in technology, where we have the ability to 3D print in more than just plastic and materials like that, is that now we are able to actually create materials for building and construction. And so now, instead of just having little toy models or small cute little things that you could print, we all know we have things you can print in metal, things you can print in resin, like all these different types of materials that you can use for 3D printing. And now we're able to implement those into the building world. And what's really awesome about this technology is that now you're able to customize panels and have it be a cohesive design that is able to be manufactured over and over again. So in the past, if we wanted to make a cohesive design that is not involving any sort of like local symmetry or global symmetry, where each panel just kind of creates one whole design together and it's at a large scale, it would usually be that you would need to carve that with your hands, and carve that with your hands or with some type
meaning
of
something like a decorative panel or a relief panel.
Exactly. And so now that we have the ability to use CNC and 3D printing, is that now not only do you have one large scale design, but you can reproduce that identically the same each time.
Or have it be different. And it doesn't have a huge change in cost for it to be different. And that is the huge thing, because back when everything was made by hand, whether you made it completely smooth or whether you added some type of detail to the surface, didn't change all that much, the cost of it going on. And then industrialism made so many things so much cheaper and led to lots of good and lots of bad things in our lives. But one of the side effects of that was that everything had to be within the given factory industrial parameters. And now the factory industrial parameters are informed by whatever we're plugging into it. It can be done in a custom way. Even so far, and you mentioned this has gone way beyond the original plastic stuff. Back in 2013, 2013 was the first time that I used 3D printing, back when I was working for a company called Les Métalliers Champenois, handcraft bronze work, and we would use the 3D printing so that our artisanal glass blowers would know exactly what size and shape to make these little glass inserts that were going to go into a balustrade. And then that, when they had the physical thing, They knew exactly how to make this perfect egg shape. And something that my colleague Brian did as part of that was he hand sculpted. We did an experiment to see that if you design something on paper, design something on computer, or design something modeling directly in the clay, which got the best results. Understandably, what got the best results was modeling directly in the medium. Now what you can do is you can have something that's literally hand sculpted. You would take a 3D scan of that, and then you'd be able to print that. And say you want to have custom tiles. Those are industrial tiles above me. I think what's really fun, what we're going to be able to do is have textured dimensional tiles, or tiles of a custom size and shape that you can then repeat as much as you need for a given project. It really allows detail to come back into architecture and design, which Dana, I know is a big fascination of yours.
Yeah, it is. And, um, I know that AI is a really hot topic right now. And what we're going to eventually see is the emergence of creating designs from AI and using those to 3D print, say, cladding and such like that. And where designers like you and I come in is that we would be the designers who would come in, um, pick the different designs that might be either created by us or another designer, and put into the 3D program, or even created by AI if you wanted to go that route. And then having used that, we can now 3D print in ceramic or concrete any cladding designs or roof shingle designs. I know that there are so many amazing, beautiful roof shingles. My favorite, for instance, are those ancient Chinese roof shingles where the end piece has a little extra bit to it. And I've always imagined, like, wow, I want those. I
Those
want
are
those in
really
my own house.
great. And that something that I've had in mind is you could have, um, imagine you want custom capitals on columns for a pole.
Exactly. Or even just the whole column itself, like
Right.
column, I
You
would
could
say.
print the pieces. You could
Yeah,
print the
I would
drawings
say,
for it.
yeah, like encasement, like, the casing for the column where it maybe the 3D print is not offering the load support. I wouldn't imagine that that would be beneficial, but
Certainly
using,
can when it's concrete. Why not? Why not make it
possibly.
load bearing when it's concrete?
Yeah, yeah, it could be. Yeah, but for like possibly a column or something, it probably, yeah, I mean, who knows the technological abilities and, possibilities, but that would require an engineer, so.
Sure.
And
Which we work with all the time.
yeah, 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 I mean,
We just started one of the reasons we've been so busy with the videos here is that we've been working on a project involving what's probably going to be 50 new homes in Riverside at
mhm.
3 units per lot. We're really innovating on these new zoning laws that have passed through, the new changes to the California code that allows for what they call this missing middle density, 3 units per lot, where you have the main home, the junior ADU, and the ADU. It's not exactly missing middle density, but it's very close, triple the density of single family residential. And so we've had the developers there, and this is for Riverside, have been very happy with what we've been doing. We've had a lot of fun with those ground plans.
Yeah, definitely.
And I would love for some of the 3D printing to come into it, because we're just starting to be in the phase now where some of these printed elements would be part of the stuff that we would use.
Yeah, and especially the fact that now you guys have the ability to 3D print small scale stuff just to get people's ideas and, small scale ideas going. I saw you guys had those 3D printed pots, and
Yeah.
that's super cool. I always love to see those in your shop. Um, I would imagine that even the the least investment for something like that would be like a small piece of pottery like that. That would be so pleasing just to know, hey, this was 3D printed in concrete, and it just kind of adds this level of like, ooh, technology excitement to your home.
Well, really, yeah. I mean, this is some of the pioneering technology really is going to make what we're starting to see of 21st century architecture be different from 20th century architecture. The ability to do custom production, to have the affordability of industrial process with the detail and with the ornament of handmade process.
Yeah,
That's a
definitely.
huge change.
Yeah, and I feel that 3D printing is never going to, just like AI, I feel like AI and 3D printing is never going to displace the hands of the creator.
Mhm.
But what it's going to do is it's going to jumpstart our our inspiration and make us excited about the decorative world again, where we've lost a lot of that. And we kind of are in a situation now where we feel as though in the past it's like unobtainable. Like, how do we get back to the old masters? How do we ever get back there? And yeah, it might take a few generations. It might take, five generations to get people into the mindset to even want to invest in that type of decorative, elaborative expression of art and of architecture. And I feel that with 3D printing, with AI, all these different types of new technological advancements, that it's going to give us a jump start in the objects, in the things, and in the visuals that we're lacking today, because we've kind of lost that in our environment here, at least here in the United States, where we look around, we see mostly modern architecture, and it's hard to visualize what a world full of detail and full of um, new ways of relief and sculpture and art and expression. Like, it's hard to envision that world if it's not
Yeah.
already around us.
And people have forgotten the way that it feels like to live in that. I think it's telling that the vacations that people take, does anyone go on vacation to see Century City? You know, whoa, Century City, ding. No one goes to see these tall, straight up and down glass buildings and get there on a highway and go to a big indoor shopping mall. People don't go on that type of vacation. What do? They go to places like Boston. They go to places like Paris. They go to places like New York City, where you can see these wonderful old beautiful things that were they go where you can see pre-industrial stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was just agreeing with you.
Sure. Yeah. And so people have forgotten what it feels like to be in that environment on a day-to-day basis. And it's not necessarily the age of the things. There was something that was built in the 1930s, the Price Tower. You and I have been there. That's in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. That's Frank Lloyd Wright's only built skyscraper. And I remember before I visited there with you, I went there. I was there with my dad, and it was the first time I ever saw it. And they had this wonderful bar and restaurant, and the beautiful frieze, the copper frieze on the outside of the building that also went inside and outside with the same detail. Really, really beautiful and wonderful. And everyone just seemed to be in this calm state of mind and just very relaxed at the restaurant. And we commented, we said, wow, everyone just seems in a really good mood here. Is everyone just having a good day? And they said, well, that's kind of what it always is here. And I really wondered, is that because they're living in this wonderful, beautiful place? I think that has something to do with it. Christopher Alexander, the way that he put it is that the architectural environment affects you as much as
Mm-hmm.
having sufficient vitamins does.
Definitely. Yeah,
It's not
100.
going to kill you, but if you're vitamin C deficient and vitamin D deficient, if you're vitamin detail deficient and vitamin B deficient, vitamin beauty, if you're deficient in those things, you're not going to feel good.
Definitely. Yeah, and actually, I feel that men and women experience architecture differently.
Oh,
Um,
that's interesting. Yeah, I agree. What do you think?
yes, where men don't really think about their built environment as much as men think differently about the built environment than women do. I think that men don't need a fancy built environment, but women definitely do. And when women are in a beautiful environment, it inspires women to be beautiful and look beautiful and put effort into their feeling beautiful. And then that goes back to the men after the fact. And I believe that it is men who created beautiful architecture to help create a beautiful woman. That's what I believe. I believe that beautiful architecture was made to inspire women to up their game in their classic beauty, in a way that is not like tribal, and in a way that is not um, kind of experimental and just kind of random as a matter of fact. Um, many tribes have beautiful women that have all these different types of ways of beauty. Like they have these different cultures, but those cultures don't create those elements of beauty because they strived to create that. It just kind of created on its own um, in relation to their environment. So it wasn't that they created their environment to invoke a type of beauty that they would like to see in a woman. It's that their environment happened as a matter of fact, and then the effect on a woman's beauty or like desirability was a matter of fact after the matter of fact.
Oh,
And right, I see classical architecture and classical design as being um, very deliberate in its, not only classical but detailed, highly intellectual, um, a lot of process, a lot of thought going into it. I really believe that that was not just to create beautiful architecture, but that architecture and women kind of go hand in hand, and that they understood that, and they wanted to create the beautiful classic woman, and they did through their architecture.
yeah, I know. I think, and there are several interesting examples of this that I was thinking of as you were saying it in the dialogue between fashion.
Can you timestamp this really quick?
Yeah, I was going to sneeze.
Okay, yeah, because can you hear this whistling in the background?
Yes, but it's not a big deal. Don't worry about the furnace, okay?
Okay, yeah, because it like on my end it's really loud, so I'm like I don't
Yeah,
know if you hear it.
your microphone has noise canceling.
Oh, okay, that's good. Okay, so you could just take that out.
But yeah, okay. So of there is a dialogue between fashion, between female ideas of beauty and architecture. You could see this in the way that that Baroque and Rococo architecture inspired women's dresses as well as women's hairstyles. And then think about what happened after the Napoleonic era, or during the Napoleonic era. You had the switch out of the Baroque and into the neoclassical.
Yeah.
At that same time, the women's dresses changed, the women's hair changed, both going towards a more simple, more elegant expression. You had Frank Lloyd Wright would even go so far, because he was so totalistic. He would even design the women's dresses also.
Yes, I agree. I believe that that a lot of architects do that, where they go far beyond only the design of the environment, but also the design of the types of people inside the environment. And even Zaha Hadid, she would design cutlery because she envisioned the perfect environment experience to eat, and then the perfect experience of the eating process. So she was thinking about how people live and the design of how people live. And it really goes hand in hand, like you said.
Did
Think about,
did she, did she make forks that were hard to keep food on top of?
you know what, it's funny because yes, they are a little bit awkward. Her
Just
I
like she made stairs that are hard to walk down.
Well, yes, the thing about Zaha Hadid is that her designs were very beautiful, but not quite as contextual or as useful as you might say, but a lot of them are very beautiful.
But
I
the
think,
fact that she conceived of the whole system was very significant.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it goes with the idea that architects try to design more than just their environment. It doesn't always mean that the architects are designing very useful things with fashion and architecture. Just like you see many fashion designers creating very strange, strange things, corrosive designs these days, and it really goes hand in hand. The ancient Romans and the Greeks, these people were wearing togas, and it's almost reminiscent of like the ancient columns. And then you have to think about like Rococo and Baroque, and think about the clothes that these people were wearing. And now think about today's modern environment, where you have all these modern buildings, everything is just glass, concrete, and steel, and you have women in mostly yoga pants. And it's because,
With billboards.
yes, yeah, it's because the reason that people do this is because they want to feel cohesive with their environment. They want to feel as though they match their environment, because if you're wearing a Baroque or Rococo outfit within the surrounding area being all modern, you feel out of place. You feel kind of uncomfortable in yourself. And the same thing if you are in a beautiful Rococo building and you're just in some sloppy yoga pants, you feel out of place and uncomfortable. Um, and just as today we have a lot of, degrading modern architecture from the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever, that had no thought put into them, that were just very profit based. Really, what you end up having is a society of people that are sloppily dressed and um, just kind of have a mindset of go to work, eat my food, go to sleep. They don't
Yeah.
really have a mindset of having beautiful things that they enjoy other than sports. Sports is the only thing that will never really, like, it will never die. Sports will always be there.
Sports, mimosas, and Starbucks.
Yeah, here, well, I transferred my Starbucks to my other
But
cup.
Starbucks was really the thing that broke out of this kind of use segregated feeling
Yeah.
of the 20th century going into the 21st century. And interestingly enough, talking about the way you dress and the way you feel, I remember it was very fashionable to think low of Starbucks in the early 2000s and in the late 90s. I was on a bus in Chicago. I think I was heading to a chiropractor or something on the Damon bus going south in Chicago, and there were two teenagers on the bus, and one of them said, "Oh, look, it's a Starbucks." You ever been there? And she said, no, I've never been there. I'm kind of scared to go in there, because it looks so nice. And just that's exactly the type of thing that you were talking about, that if something is sufficiently different from the type of built environment you're used to, you feel like the way that you're set up is somehow not fitting unless you take an extra step to it. And there have been people, like, beautiful, wonderful environments can make people feel uncomfortable, interestingly enough, if they've had
Yes.
this kind of almost abused reaction.
Yes, exactly. Because here's another thing. This is why you don't see homeless people that are dressed badly, hanging around very pleasant, nice buildings, is because many times it makes them feel uncomfortable because they are not dressed appropriately. And that goes exactly with the idea that what you're wearing makes you feel either comfortable or uncomfortable in your environment. And um, when you're in rags and holes in your clothes, you feel more comfortable in environments where there's a lot of graffiti, there's a lot of trash on the ground. It like makes you feel as though you're kind of like not intimidated by your space. And when you are very clean, put together, cognitive, and care about your appearance, then of course you're uncomfortable in places where there is a lot of trash and graffiti and such.
Interestingly enough, when years ago when I worked at the Apple Store in Chicago, it was one of the first places where you could go in and for free use the internet on something. And there was a homeless guy who would come in, but he was a homeless guy who always had his hair done well. He would have a sport coat, and he put a significant amount of effort into making himself presentable. And he was the guy who would come in and he would just do whatever he needed to do on the internet for maybe 10 minutes and then go on to whatever else he was doing that day. He was always in there once a day. And I that it makes a difference in what people are comfortable with.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's why it's important to remember that just because somebody is poor or homeless, it doesn't mean that they don't appreciate nice looking things. And just because a person has money and has those abilities doesn't mean that they care to put in the effort and care about art and beauty and an environment like.
Right. I think we're having a lot of people feel frustrated because they don't necessarily know how they can start or what they have control over. And one of the things that I've been appreciating is in the way that we've worked with people, the way that we've worked with clients, is helping people realize, I see this as a core part of our job, to help people realize accurately how much they do have control over in order to make their environments be really wonderful and beautiful and a place that they and their families are going to love.
Definitely. Yeah, and yeah, sorry, I had a loss of thought. What were you saying?
Oh, just about how important it is to share with clients, understanding what they do have control over
Mm.
in order to make environments very beautiful. I've always thought that our best designs have come out of a process of discovery,
Yes, definitely. And
discovery
no,
and dialogue.
yes, and what you were saying before, that had forgotten, um, you talked about confusion, and what I noticed today is it is very, very confusing. Today is a very confusing time because right now what you have are artists and designers and kind of creators of the built environment and the design world who are pushing this idea that is meant to twist your mind in a very kind of narcissistic way, confuses you and makes you believe that uh, that what is valuable today is to look like it's ugly. For instance,
Right.
they're putting value in architectural designs that look like they're falling apart, very industrial, looks like it's gonna, give you cancer in 5 years of breathing the
This
air.
started with the deconstruction movement. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so same thing with fashion. Now you have these runway designers that are creating designs that the clothes basically look like a Zoolander, where he's walking down with his blue steel like he's in covered in trash. And what happens is that then and artists are doing this too, where they're creating art that is just like sad and grotesque. And then what happens, why it's confusing, is that then when you when you see a picture or a painting or something that is beautiful, that is actually beautiful, you're tricked in your mind to think, well, that's not valuable. That art is not going to make me money. What makes me money now is the degrading, depressing stuff, because that's the stuff that sells. And
Oh,
that's
something
what sells.
something like Keith Haring that looks like a bunch of spray paint stick figures.
Yeah, exactly. Or like splatter art. Oh, I forgot the name for that. But yeah, it's becoming this like world where you see things that are degrading and you're like, wow, this can make me some money, because you've been told by other designers that what makes money is this sort of degrading kind of design. And then it becomes difficult. Same thing with music. You lose that ability to understand how to listen to music, how to see beautiful architecture, how to see these beautiful things, because you've been trained in your head to believe that those things um, are not
Yeah.
profitable, and
Well,
that's the problem.
you've had, yeah, and I think it's a sense of reawakening our ability to see these things and to feel these things because we've been worn numb to it or we never knew it was there. And I think we're at a good time to end here, around about 30 minutes. A great thought to end on would be something you've told me recently is, I think, a fascinating musical discovery that you've had, that you just decided that you wanted to explore classical music and you were
Mhm.
listening to it more and more often, and then
Yeah.
you discovered something very interesting. So to tell people what happened.
Oh, yeah. So we can continue that for our next Zoom call. But um, if you kind of want to imagine, I used to be into the house music, techno music, even punk music, and like crust and like metal and all of that type of music. And I just went into a loop of searching for something fulfilling, and I never found it. And I realized that I had to rework my I had to rework, just like when you eat food, rework my understanding of fulfilling music, like a fulfillment of listening to something. So I had to rework that in my brain, and I've come to something really fascinating, and I think you're gonna like it.
Are you actually going to tease people until next week, Dana?
Yes.
Okay, we'll leave it on that. So the changing opening areas of neural perception in the brain, the neuroplasticity that we ourselves are in charge of with aesthetic shaping and design of your life. Next time on Living Process. All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Dana, so much.
Yeah. Please like and subscribe.
That's right. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll be talking to you soon. Thank you for
Definitely.
listening.
And if you have any requests for topics, or if you'd like to be part of the discussion for next week, talking about music and detail and how music and architecture and fashion and all of that kind of relate, just send us a message with David's email. What is your email, David?
You can comment below, and also you can email info@livingprocess.net.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd
Right.
we'd love to have you on the show and talking about how you feel about all these different topics and giving your point of view. So,
All right. Thank you so much.
okay.
We'll see you guys soon, everyone. Have a great week.
Thank you. Bye.